Introduction to Psychology. What is psychology and why is it worth your time to study? Let me approach these questions by sharing a couple of stories with you. In 2005, Greg Hogan, a college sophomore, briefly achieved national notoriety when he was arrested for a crime. Greg wasn't anybody's idea of a likely criminal. He was the son of a Baptist minister and the president of his class. He played cello and in the university orchestra. He even worked part-time in the chaplain's office. So it shocked everyone who knew Greg when police arrested him at his fraternity house for bank robbery. It seems that Greg had faked having a gun and made away with over $2,800 from a local bank. His reason: over a period of months he had lost $5,000 playing poker on the internet. His lawyer said Greg's gambling habit had become an addiction. Dissel 2005, McLaughlin and Paquette 2005. Greg ended up entering a clinic for treatment for his gambling problem. In a way, he was lucky. At least he got help. Moshe Pargament, a 19-year-old community college student in Long Island, New York, wasn't so fortunate. Moshe was shot to death after brandishing a gun at a police officer. Moshe's gun turned out to be plastic. On the front seat of his car was a note that began, "Officer, it was a plan. I'm sorry to get you involved. I just needed to die." Moshe had just lost $6,000 betting on the World Series. His death was what people in law enforcement called suicide by cop. Lindsay and Lester, 2004. These stories are at the extreme edge of a trend that concerns many public officials and mental health professionals. The popularity of gambling, from lotteries to sports betting to online poker, is booming, especially among the young. D. Jacobs, 2004. College students seem to be leading the way. To some observers, gambling on college campuses has become an epidemic. Koch, 2005. Student bookies on some campuses makes tens of thousands of dollars a year taking sports bets from other students. TV shows like the World Series of Poker are marketed squarely at college student or audiences. Poker sites on the web invite students to win their tuition by gambling online. For most people, gambling is a relatively harmless, if sometimes expensive, pastime. However, estimates suggest that 5 or 6% of teens and young adults develop serious problems with gambling, 2 or 4 times the rate of older adults. Jacobs, 2004, Petrie, 2005, Winters et al., 2004. The enormous growth of pathological gambling among young people raises a host of questions. Is gambling dangerous? Can it really be addictive? What is an addiction anyway? If pathological gamblers abuse drugs or commit crimes, is gambling the cause of the troubles, or is it a symptom of a deeper problem? Perhaps more critically of all, why do some people become pathological gamblers while the great majority do not? Every day, millions of people in the United States play the lottery, bet on sports, or visit casinos without apparent harm. Yet others can't seem to stop gambling until they have lost everything: their savings, their jobs, their homes, and their self-respect. Why? What causes such perplexing, self-destructive behavior? Psychology is about questions like these. More generally, psychology is about understanding all the things we do. Psychology is about understanding all the things we do. Psychology is about understanding all the things we do. All of us wonder sometimes about the reasons underlying people's behavior, why it's hard to diet, why we procrastinate about studying, why we fall in love with one person rather than another. We wonder why some people are outgoing while others are shy. We wonder why we sometimes do things that we know will bring us pain and anguish. Whether it's clinging to a destructive relationship or losing our tuition money in a game of Texas Hold'em. The study of psychology is about all these things and infinitely more. Many of psychology's questions have implications for our everyday lives. For me, this is one of the field's major attractions. Psychology is practical. Psychology is practical. Psychology is practical. Consider the case of gambling. Pathological gamblers suffer all kinds of misery, yet they can't seem to stop. Listen to the anguish of a gambler named Steve. Over the past 2 years, I have lost literally thousands. I have attempted to give up time after time after time, but failed every time. I have debts around my neck which are destroying mine and my family life. I just want a massive light to be turned on with a message saying, "This is way to your old life, Steve." SJB 2006. What is the best way to help someone like Steve? Should he join a group like Gamblers Anonymous with counseling work? Are there drugs that can help? By probing the whys and hows of human behavior, psychology can help us find answers to pressing questions like these, as well as better understand issues that affect each of us every day. You will see the practical side of psychology throughout this book, especially in the personal applications at the end of the chapters. These applications focus on everyday problems such as coping more effectively with stress, improving self-control, and dealing with sleep difficulties. Beyond its practical value, psychology is worth studying because it provides a powerful way of thinking. All of us make judgments every day about why people do the things they do. For example, we might think that pathological gamblers are weak-willed or irrational, or just too dumb to understand that the odds are stacked against them. Or we might believe they are in the grip of an addiction that simply overpowers them. How do we decide which of these judgments, if any, are right? Psychologists are committed to investigating questions about human behavior in a scientific way. This means that they seek to formulate precise questions about behavior and then test possible answers through systematic observations. Psychologists seek to formulate precise questions about behavior, then test possible answers through the systematic observation. Psychologists seek to formulate precise questions about behavior and then test possible answers through the systematic observation. This commitment to testing ideas means that psychology provides a way of building knowledge that is relatively accurate and dependable. It also provides a model for assessing the assertions we hear every day about behavior, as well as you'll see in upcoming chapters, critical thinking applications. In the case of gambling, for example, researchers have designed careful studies to probe the relationship of gambling problems to any number of possible influences, from childhood experiences to membership in college fraternity. They have compared the way slot machines are set to reward players with frequent small payoffs to the way rats and pigeons learn to earn food rewards in the laboratory. They have used state-of-the-art scanners to image the brain of people performing tasks similar to placing bets. They have even looked at whether some people are predisposed by their genes to develop problems with gambling. Petrie 2005, Rocky L. 2005, Sajedi Mazak 2005. If there is one clear conclusion that emerges from these studies, it is that there is no simple answer to the mystery of pathological gambling. Instead, a full explanation of gambling problems will likely involve many influences that interact in complex ways. Duravensky and Gupta 2004, Petrie 2005. As you'll see through this course, the same is true of most aspects of behavior. In my opinion, this is yet another reason to study psychology. It teaches us a healthy respect for the complexity of behavior. Teaches us a healthy respect for the complexity of behavior. Teaches us a healthy respect for the complexity of behavior. In a world that could use more understanding and compassion, this can be an invaluable lesson. Teaches us a healthy respect for the complexity of behavior. Teaches us a healthy respect for the complexity of behavior. As you go through this course, I hope you'll come to share my enthusiasm for psychology as a fascinating and immensely practical field of study. Let's begin our exploration by seeing how psychology has evolved from early speculations about behavior to a modern science. By looking at this evolution, you'll better understand psychology as it is today, a sprawling, multifaceted science and profession. We'll conclude our introduction with a look at 7 unifying themes that will serve as the connecting threads in the chapters to come. The chapter's personal application will review research that provides insights into how to be an effective student. Finally, the critical thinking application will discuss how the critical thinking skills can be enhanced.